Hi, my name is Alex, and welcome to the official podcast of Breaking Point, an esports organization that has been around for almost 2 years. I'm joined today by my good friend and owner of Breaking Point, Doug.
So hey there. Thanks for having me today. I'm the CEO and owner of Breaking Point. We're a competitive esports org. We have teams in Call of Duty, Gears of War. We have a wide range of content creators. Um, we were founded just under 2 years ago. So me and myself and a few others, to include Alex, who is our content manager and a recruiter. We started just a few years ago. Um, and we have aspirations to become one of the biggest names in esports. And how we plan to do this is gaining major sponsorships. To name a few, we have a sponsorship with a apparel company called Sector Six, a jerky company called Jerky Pro, and an energy company. They're called Rogue Energy. To include um, some of our talent, we have top four players. We have a Latin American Gears of War team. Um, and these are just some of the few things that we have. We'll definitely talk about more later. But yeah, that's we're just getting started, man.
The first thing I wanted to talk about today with you is the new format that the competitive Call of Duty scene has taken this year with the new game, Modern Warfare. This year, Call of Duty decided they wanted to follow in the footsteps of Overwatch and franchise the competitive scene. This made it so teams have a host city in their name, like Atlanta FaZe or Optic Gaming LA. These teams needed a large investment of 25 million to join the league, making it so teams had to sell large portions of their organization in order to get large financial investors so they could join. How do you feel it's going so far?
Well, for starters, it was definitely a huge risk for the CDL to take, just because um, the investment for this getting into the scene alone is so big that many orgs, it kind of pushes them away. Um, It, however, has paid off in a large number of ways. For that being, it's introduced, a very solidified and consistent game schedule just for the players themselves, because usually they play about every 2 week or every other weekend. Uh, so that makes it very consistent for those players to play against the big names. It's also the cash revenue for those teams alone is a lot larger than what it used to be. Not for each event, for how consistent these events are. Um, and arguably, I would say for the AM scene, it's helped, but it's also destroyed it. Just for the simple fact of the league isn't necessarily putting out, you know, a representation for these players. The streams are no longer there. Um, the events are kind of shady. For one of them, they played in a garage or in a basement. So
Yeah,
it's hurt it, but it's definitely helped them just for the simple fact of, like I said, it's very consistent of how often they play now. And it's a good way to get their name out because they're actually based off of pro points. So instead of them going to these local events like they used to, they're actually playing under the CDL name. So I think it's pretty beneficial in some ways.
yeah, exactly. I think the biggest thing is like you saw a lot of teams that were big names have to drop out because they couldn't put up this money in first. Like you see 100 Thieves coming in third, maybe I think last year in champs, and they're not even in the league at all. And I think you see a lot of it takes away the chance of the underdog coming out of nowhere and uh, winning like E United did. But with each team, with the competitive scene going from 4 players a team to 5 players a team, I think that helped keep it from being like dead. You didn't lose a lot of your big name pro players since each team added another player to it. It just kind of teams. What sucked was teams not being able to make like their own merchandise, their own whatever, since it all had to go through the CDL and through Activision and through Call of Duty. It just that kind of hurt it,
Uh,
but
yeah. I think like that's definitely some of the worst parts. One good thing, at least for the viewership, was of how big of a mix-up these rosters have been this year. Definitely pulled away some of the mainstream rosters. You had like Optic, you had yeah, like LG, you
Yeah.
have United, all these teams that they've been together for so long. It's like that's the team.
Mhm.
And then you see that, the Pristini and Arcides, the absolute duo twins, they get split apart to two different rosters this year. And you're seeing players you never thought would play together, and it brings together this, you know, the unknown. So now you're seeing teams. It's not always going to be the same teams now winning events. Now, however, you've seen like they've been dominating this, but it gives new players like Simp and Celium and all these new players a shot, as they're putting on a roster together with
Yeah.
some experienced players. So it really mixes up the scene,
Yeah.
and it's I think it was a good thing, but like you said, it definitely hurts the league just for some reason that there's so many restrictions now that it's a completely franchise league that they can't do things on their own anymore.
Yeah. The shuffling of rosters definitely helped. I think that was probably the biggest thing. Uh Other than that, I think everything's going well. I think having a set time and having everything as a LAN instead of being online and LAN helps a lot because online can be unpredictable at times. So having it all as a LAN really helped out.
Oh yeah, of course.
The second topic I have for us today is the Challenger League. In addition to the new league format, the open bracket was changed to a closed, paid entry tournament. Here at Breaking Point, we have had the opportunity to send our team to the first Challenger League hosted by the Minnesota Rocker and had plans to send them to the tournament on March 28th. But unfortunately, the event was canceled due to the current coronavirus pandemic. The Challenger League has been interesting this year. I think honestly it was kind of a second thought to CDL. They had already got their money from the big teams. I don't know if they really even wanted to do the Challenger League, but they knew that they were going to get flack from the community if they didn't, especially teams like up and coming pros wanting to compete for points. They definitely wanted that, so the CDL had to just throw it together. I think that's what it is. It's just a thrown together event.
Well, see, and it's not even that. Like, I definitely agree with that. It just like the biggest thing that kind of bugs me about the league was, just say last year and just absolutely every year prior to that, you had an event. You had your open bracket and you had your group play or your pool play. So your pool play was all your pro players went. They played against the other pros, and then each group they'd have the open bracket slot. So that's where your up and coming amateurs would play. Once they make it out of their the open bracket, they'd actually go to the group stage. So they play against your big names like Optic, FaZe, LG, whatever. So like this year, it really screws out all the AMs because the only thing they can play against is themselves. They don't have a chance against all the big names this year. And take Parasite for example. Um, he's been struggling to find a team this year, and arguably he's one of the I wouldn't say the best, but one of the better pros out there. But he's struggled to find a team, and the way that it's structured, he can sit in the open or the Challengers League all day he wants, but it's not gonna do any good for him because he can't actually play against the big names, and the prize pool is way lower. They don't have streams for their games, and it just really screws out the AMs. Um, because there's just nothing there for them as it is for the pros.
Yeah, I think even trying to follow our own team while at the event, there were no streams of their games. There's no bracket telling like when they would play or whatever. I think they had it posted somewhere at the tournament, but it was slow to get updated. I think overall in both leagues, the social media management of the teams and the league has been poor. Like even with the actual league, they'll post that a game happened almost 2 hours, 3 hours after it's already ended, and sometimes they won't even post the score or what happened. It should be like live, but I don't know what happens there. Other than that, like it's just people don't have a chance. Like that first place team out of the Challengers League could could beat any of the other teams that are participating in the tournament already. Like some of those with Call of Duty especially, it's all up to how you're playing that day, and you could come out flying one day and do bad another. So everyone has the chance to break into that top bracket, but they don't
Yeah,
get the
that's the
chance
thing.
now.
It really screws out the people who are out here and their ass off, to make it to the top. You could have players who are already in the actual CDL. They could play they could play like trash that day, but yet they're still going with a paycheck. But then you look at all the AM teams where they have the work ethic and everything else to make themselves one of the best, but they can't have the opportunity to actually play against the pros to prove themselves. And that's where they get stuck in the Challengers League. Is I feel like it's modeled to almost show like, hey, like you play here, you make your pro points, whatever else, like you can look like a good player, and then maybe the pro teams want to pick you up. But there's so little representation for those players that it's almost pointless for them to even show up, just because there's nothing for them at that stage.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you have probably a quarter of the league down to maybe its last COD or its second to last COD and competing, and these new players would come up just like how E United did by pool, breaking into the pool and winning tournaments out of the open bracket, and now all those players are signed onto these CDL teams. So it just sucks that they haven't done the best at it because it's definitely should be one of their top priorities, trying to build new talent and hoping to continue it for the next 10 years even. The final topic I have for us today is the switch from Twitch to YouTube for the game streams. With the start of the new league, the CDL decided to switch from Twitch to YouTube for the live streams of the event. For me personally, I wasn't too sure about the switch. I think opening weekend, we saw the viewership down compared to past events. I think this was mainly because of this switch. Uh, I had a very hard time finding the stream myself compared to going to Twitch, where Twitch would just host it on the main page, or if you were following Twitch, it wouldn't be hidden. With YouTube, it's not really set up. It's not really set up for streaming. It's kind of like an afterthought that YouTube has created. I think Twitch is just more dedicated towards games and streaming games, so it just works better for them.
Oh yeah, and of course, like you were saying, yeah, because YouTube, it's such a big platform. You just have normal videos you watch, every day. You have you have the often live streams you can find, but Twitch is an entire service dedicated to itself, just for gaming. And if you subscribe or follow any account on there, you're gonna get the notification. You know when the streams are gonna be up. It's a lot easier to follow. And as for them switching from Twitch to YouTube, it just made it so much harder because, like you were saying, yeah, there's nothing to tell you when they're live, and it's such a big platform that it just kind of gets lost in the algorithm at this point. So it's hard to tell. Um, and the viewership definitely is down because people don't really expect it to be on YouTube. A lot of people they'll follow the scene, but it's kind of like how many of them are actually following the actual schedule, on Twitter,
Yeah,
where else they're posting this information. So it's definitely hurt the viewership a lot.
yeah. Like I said earlier, where they don't post a lot on social media, so a lot of times, like in the past, people would just see the Call of Duty trending on the main page of Twitch because it would be like the top viewer at like 60K viewers maybe, and then people would see it on the front page just going on Twitch as people do when they're bored. They'll just go on Twitch and just look through the streams that are popular right now. You could see events get up to 120 and 150K viewers, and that last little bit of viewers were just people who tuned in just going on Twitch. And it also comes down to them not posting about it. Again, social media for this whole league has been poor. I'm not sure why they didn't spend more money on that part, especially since that's such a big part of the esports scene in general right now.
Oh yeah, that's just the thing. Like, um, I think the community on Twitch itself, sometimes it can be a little toxic. It's a little different than other platforms you look at, but it's just nice that when you go on, kind of who you're working with. That makes it, that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Because YouTube, there's such a, like I said before, it's such a big platform. You're getting all sorts of type of people. It might just be some, not that it's a problem, but it's just good to know that when you're on Twitch, it's gamers. YouTube, you're kind of working with just everybody, and it's awesome. They bring in more people, and people who might find, they don't watch gaming, but they watch the event or whatever. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. Maybe I'll follow it. That's great. It's just I like Twitch a lot more for the idea that it was centered for gaming, and I think it worked best on that platform.
Yeah.
But as only time will tell though of how well YouTube will work out for this Switch.
Twitch just looks better in general. Like just more pleasing on the eyes to watch. The chat and how they have the emotes. The chat looks better, especially on YouTube. They just made the comment section into a chat section. So it's kind of below and it's hidden and it's not really set up the same way. It doesn't work as well on mobile. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's one of the things just for us that it's been Twitch for so long that it's like it's
Yeah, it's
hard
hard
to
to find that
switch.
switch.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's hard to move on from what you're used to for so long.
Yeah. The only thing that I like the most about YouTube is being able to rewind and watch stuff if I miss it, or I can pause and then when I hit play it'll resume there. Whereas Twitch, it gets messed up a little bit. If you pause it or something, it'll want to skip back to live. But that's the only thing really has that I felt was better in general.
And with that, that concludes our podcast for today. I hope this has helped inform you a little bit more about the esports scene. Who we are, what we hope to become, and our opinions on the future of esports. So thank you again, Alex, for having me once again. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And don't forget, to push your limits, boys.
Of course. Thank you, Doug, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to me for a little bit. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing what's in store for Breaking Point in the future. I think there's a bright future, and I'm happy to be a part of it. For everyone listening, don't forget to check out the other social medias that are on the screen right now. Thank you guys for watching, and we hope to see you again.